A lot of exciting things to talk about drag racing wise, but man, stick and ball in particular, football was an exciting weekend and Monday night.
Very exciting. I'm excited for Indiana and what how this changes college football is amazing. I think you're going to
Absolutely.
see a lot of different things with college football with this win.
Absolutely. And Bear fans clapped.
Sure did. They
Wow.
did.
They haven't had much to clap for in a long time, and they were clapping on a loss. They deserved it, though. It was a hard fought loss, and they had a good season.
Indeed.
We're ready to talk about some drag racing, though, here pretty soon.
Yes, sir. It's going to be good.
Well, there's been a lot to enjoy out there in the world of sports, but this sport in motorsports of drag racing, we're here on the Competition Plus Power Hour to talk about it. Hello, I'm Lee Kraft, a.k.a. the Monday Morning Racer over there. Mr. Dujanay Bland, host of the Not Bland Show, and this is the Competition Plus Power Hour presented by Weldon High Performance. Dujanay, a lot to talk about that you and I can discuss, that in the comments section, the fans can discuss in the world of drag racing. Yeah. I think one of the top stories here lately obviously has to be concerning, well, Austin Prock.
Yeah, finally. I feel like it's no fault of theirs, but it's kind of the, at least for some of us who knew, it's kind of the anticlimactic finish to, the news. It just took so long to hit, but it is big news, and it's going to be exciting. He's got a real big size chip on his shoulder too.
He does, and folks, you need to be tuned in to competitionplus.com and the Facebook page. Be sure that you are following, because Bobby Bennett has got a story rolling out very soon with Austin Prock himself, and it will go in depth on this transition from John Force Racing to Tasca Racing. And later on, we've got a guest that, well, I think everyone in drag racing, especially if you follow the National Hot Rod Association, they are familiar with a big announcement concerning CompetitionPlus.com, and that's Alan Reinhardt.
Yeah, a big announcement, and it's about, I'm going to use the LeBron James term, it's about damn time. Like, how long has it been for this guy as far as within the sport of drag racing? He's a staple. He knows everybody, and he's been through several big time generations of top-notch drivers and champions. And not just in NHRA, but just in the sport of drag racing, period. So, it's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. And then, as we start getting near the peak stories of the week, well, it was just dropped. I think this is major news, Dujanay, that part of the Drag Illustrated Winter Series, the U.S. Streetcar Nationals in there at Bradenton, it's going to be on Amazon Prime on Friday.
That's fire. And that's the way to step out and kind of test the waters a little bit. And I think with this, they can kind of move the needle for other folks in drag racing to kind of eyeball this thing as well. So this is great. And I think this is the way of TV now. You kind of got to get in on these streaming services because that's where people are at. And that's what people are using right now. That's going to be fantastic. I love it. I love that. Them stepping out there. Big one there.
Yes, I think it's great for, exposure for the sport, that you are going to have it on a platform such as Amazon Prime. I'm not a big fan of more pay windows for people, and plenty of people already have Amazon Prime. So I'm glad this has worked out for exposure and for them getting on the platform, and a long run ad, if you will, for drag racing and what's taking place down there in Bradenton. Well, for the peak stories of the week here on CompetitionPlus.com Power Hour, John Schaefer named crew chief for Paul Lee Racing.
I like
And a lot of people in the comment section are a bit taken back by this move.
I don't know, man. I guess, but there was movement with Johnny Lindbergh. There was going to be movement there. I think that's something that will probably be released a little later. I won't spill the beans on that, but I think this is a good move for him. John Schaefer, well known, I think is very established. Can keep the ball rolling, so to speak, as they've kind of built on this thing and kind of got him a consistent race car. I think he can continue that.
Certainly can continue that. I think we're going to see Paul Lee continue what he has been up to and that program to run well out there in NHRA professional drag racing. A US 131 Motorsports Park, they made an announcement that someone that certainly knows his drag racing, has been at it for a long time. They are bringing him on board as a consultant. A track that does a great job as it is going to get even more help, and that's with Steve Irwood coming on board.
A smart move, especially when you're getting your first national event. You kind of want this thing to go off without a hitch. And some of the other tracks that we are kind of going to this year that are new kind of have that established, person. Not saying they're not capable, but man, when you are trying to make sure that all your I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and your processes as far as cars coming in, cars going out, all the little things, this is where someone like that comes into play, can kind of give you a second, a third set of eyes to kind of make sure that at the end of the day, when this thing hits, it's going to be a smooth rollout and minimal hiccups as possible. So that couldn't be a smarter move for them to consult on someone like Steve.
Someone that we're familiar with the Southeast Gas Association, and if you were in the Carolinas growing up and watching him in IHRA Pro Mod and even NHRA Pro Mod later on, is Quayne Stott. Now, Quayne said that I'm getting out of things. I'm selling the Southeast Gases Association. You're not going to see me, back there racing and leading and directing and all of these things. And yet he's got a fuel altered and a Pro Mod, and he's going to get back to racing.
He just can't get enough, man. He just can't get enough. When does Quayne come back to Southeast Gases Association too, right?
He's out there tuning, but
yeah,
I expect him to get back behind the wheel. He couldn't even stay away last year. He got behind Corn Pop.
Exactly. I don't put it past him. A racer, always a racer, and will through and through be a racer. I think one of these things is kind of like, for drag racers, it's not super hard as if somebody in the NFL or NBA, right? The body tends to break down and gives away and not be able to hang or to deal with the young bucks hitting you or, bullying you in the paint. But with racing, it's a little bit different. As long as, you have your sight, you have good reflexes and can still cut a light, you can drive for a long time. Sometimes, man, it's just in your blood and you just can't get enough of it. So I'm not surprised.
Yes, he's getting a taste of nitro with that fuel altered and going to do some outlaw Pro Mod racing. You're probably not going to see him at PDRA or any of the other sanctioning bodies like that, but there is a growing outlaw, almost nostalgia type Pro Mod scene, especially in the Southeast. Some great things with racers that have those styles of cars still out there. Yeah, they got that third pedal even in them, most of them, that some people apparently don't know how to use anymore, and it may go by the wayside just because of technology, but clutches are cool.
I do agree. Clutches are very cool.
Well, also what's cool happening down there in Florida, they're underway with testing and going to be rolling into the weekend. As we mentioned, Friday, Amazon Prime, you'll be able to watch the action from the U.S. Streetcar Nationals there at Bradenton, and the Winter Series for Drag Illustrated continues. Jason Harris, we talked to him on this show. You've talked to him recently on your show, the Not Bland Show. He's got an opportunity for $1 million if he can make it 2 in a row.
Yeah, go check out episode 107 of Not Bland Show. It was a great conversation with him building up to this week. And he's the only man that can get that millie. And, he seems to be really focused. Talking to him last week, seems to be very focused. They've done and kept up and still chopping away at making sure that they can come out and, give it all they got. And I think the best thing for him is he's just acting like it hasn't been done and he didn't win last week. And I know it's cliche, right? You know what I mean? Take it one game at a time and all that. But he has the right approach. And I think the team around him also is very well capable of also keeping him focused on the task at hand. So it's just another race for him. And I expect for them to show up and show out.
I absolutely agree. Well, we're going to transition here on the Competition Plus Power Hour and get our guest on. The guest of the week, presented by Weldon High Performance, is going to be the one and only Alan Reinhardt. So a word from Weldon High Performance, and we'll have Mr. Reinhardt on. Alan Reinhardt, welcome once again to the Competition Plus Power Hour. Good to have you on the show. Let's see. Last time I saw you was Tucson.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's good to be here. I've paid attention, watched your show for a number of years, but it's kind of nice to be able to participate at least for once.
Yeah. What you been up to, man, these days? Catching any races, doing anything special?
I've been doing a couple of things, really keeping busy. I went down to Australia, did a race for them last year. I'm actually going to go back next month and do another one. I've been filling out my calendar a little bit. I went to the PRI show. I haven't missed one of those in about 35 years or so, and wasn't going to start doing that now. So I'm still not technically employed by anybody, but I'm going to do kind of what I did last year, do some freelance stuff, which gives me an opportunity to do some races that I never could do before. All those years when I was part of the NHRA program, I was contractually prohibited from doing any other series or any non-NHRA tracks. And now that I'm freelancing, I'm getting an opportunity to do some other stuff. And I've also been working with an Australian company that's got some new software that makes the running of race days so much simpler. And it's way beyond anything that's out there right now. So I've been working with them, making some introductions, and we've got a couple of tracks that are giving it a run. But other than that, that's kind of where I'm at right now, keeping busy. And I keep promising I'm going to work on the Barracuda sitting behind me there. That's been my one of these days project for the last 3.5 years or so. And I probably shouldn't tell anybody this, but because I'm me and I'm stupid, I just bought 2 more project cars, so I have no idea what I'm going to do with them.
Hey, always need another project car. That solves a lot of woes while creating a few more. Yeah, you've certainly been able to stay busy. You haven't been estranged from the drag racing world at all. I know you've been out there with divisionals and regionals at NHRA events, and we had you out there at the Fuel Altered Chaos event, that inaugural one there at Tucson, and that was great to have you out there. What did you think of the Chaos brand and what was and is now the largest fuel altered meet that drag racing has had?
Well, I've heard so much about it, and all good. I've never had an opportunity to participate in one, but for those who don't know, Tucson, Arizona is where I live. So when they were coming here, Jim Hughes, who's the general manager out there, and he and Chip run the track, called and said, "Hey, if you're not doing anything, you want to come out?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not missing an opportunity." Plus, when I was a kid, the Fuel Altered Nationals at the old Tucson Dragway, we're talking back in the 70s, early 80s, was one of the biggest events they had annually here in Tucson. And when I was a kid, those things were just awe-inspiring machines. So to have an opportunity to have that come back to Tucson, albeit at the new track, and the old one closed in 1985, and to go out there and actually be a very small part of it. But the whole Chaos, just the way they run their show, right? Yes, it's competition. Yes, the guys want to win, but it's more about hey, let's have some fun. Let's put on a show for the fans. Let's do big burnouts. Let's make it about more than just who has low ET of the weekend. And let's make sure that everybody gets out to participate. It's a heck of a show for the race fans. If there's anybody that hasn't been to one, the next time you hear of a chaos event, whether it's Nitro Chaos, Funny Car Chaos, Fuel Altered Chaos, trust me, buy a ticket and go give it a shot. I don't think you'd be disappointed.
Do you have some things on your list that you're like really wanting to do and announce here coming up in 2026?
I've got a couple. I'm going back to Australia here next month, and potentially I could go back there as many as 3 times this year. We're just trying to work things out. And, I've been really fortunate because I've got to see so many things and do so many things. And now I'm kind of more in a position where I just like to do stuff that I haven't done before. I've done, some of the smaller races, some of the things. I had a gentleman that runs Amarillo reached out to me, Mr. Fielder reached out to me the other day and said, hey, do you have this weekend open? Love to have you come in here and do our national open. And I do believe I do. I've got to finalize that, as a matter of fact, now that I'm thinking about it, get back to him. But just things like that. I just, the national event stuff, and I did it for a long time and really enjoyed doing it, really enjoyed being a part of all the history-making moments and all of the stuff. But it's so much fun to get out and do some of the smaller events where you can have a little fun, where you can cut loose a little bit, where it's not quite so corporate, so structured. And that's, I really enjoy doing that. Anybody that knows me knows that I have kind of a twisted sense of humor, and I like to kind of get off the reservation a little bit from time to time. And going to some of these smaller events and some of these other things gives me an opportunity to do that. And I'm really having a good time doing it. I'm really having a lot of fun.
Always good to be able to branch out and see some different things. There's a lot of races on my bucket list that I want to get to because NHRA drag racing is spectacular. It is the premier. You have to hand it to them. But there are still cool events throughout the world to go catch, see, and experience. And Alan, glad you're able to get some of that in now and stay busy. And Amarillo, I'm looking forward to being there this year myself and go to a track that's got a ton of history in the economy of drag racing. So looking forward to it. I know you've got to be as well. Alan, as we've got you here on the show and we look ahead into your 2026, it's our understanding from the boss man, Bobby Bennett, that you've got some news to announce here with us.
Yeah, do you have like the breaking news, like the just in coming across the desk right now? Bobby and I have talked about this for a long, long time. And I don't know if he finally broke me down or if I'm mentally ill or if there's something else going on. But he has convinced me that I'm going to be a part of the Competition Plus podcast team. I'm going to do a bi-monthly, twice a month on Wednesdays starting February 4th. And just kind of do my own thing. Nicole Clark is going to be a part of it. And, I was part of WFO Radio's broadcast with Joe Costello for a number of years. I got out of that, and he obviously still being a part of the NHRA team is still doing the NHRA stuff. But Bobby and I have talked about doing this, and I thought, why not? It might be fun to see if, I know everybody and his mother's got their own podcast, but to try to do things maybe a little different and maybe chase down some guests that some of the other folks haven't thought about or haven't been able to get convinced to come on board. And so we're going to give it a trial run and see where it goes. But I'm kind of looking forward to it. And that's going to be starting Wednesday, February 4th. Details to follow.
Yeah, you've got a long history of drag racing to share with people. You know what I mean? Like, you were there for a lot of firsts with NHRA that you get to share those behind the scenes stories that maybe have never been told.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be some of that. I think that the way that I envision this thing, there will be some kind of almost a where are they now type of segment, right? I'm still in touch with a lot of people that are no longer actively racing, but I just think it might be interesting to do, whatever it is, a 5-minute segment or something every week about, hey, remember this guy. He hasn't been racing for the last 10 years or 15 years, but let's catch up with him and see what he's doing now. As far as historical moments, I'm sure there'll be a lot of that. One of the other things that I spoke to Bobby about that we're going to revive here on Competition Plus one of the things that I really, truly enjoyed with my time at NHRA was the fan emails. And I had an email address where just anybody that was watching, listening, tuning in could write me an email, ask me a question, give me an observation. You know, there were obviously a few of them that would send me an email and say, hey, you're an idiot. But the interaction with the fans, I enjoyed tremendously. And the fact that once I left NHRA, I no longer had that. So we are going to revive that. Bobby's going to set me up an email. I don't have the address yet, or I would share it with you now. But I'm going to ask fans hey, you got a question, you got a comment, shoot it to me. And then every week we'll pick a half a dozen of them or whatever. I don't know if Bobby is going to do like NHRA.com used to, about once a month or so. They would take some of my fan questions and just made it a column that ran as part of the website. But I started it originally years ago because fans would come up and ask me questions throughout the course of the day that were a lot of stuff that a lot of us think are pretty basic, right? Like, well, how come he got lane choice? And there's a lot of casual fans that really didn't understand the nuts and bolts of how things work. I have always believed that the more you know about what you're watching, the more you're going to enjoy watching it. You know, I when I was in Australia, went out one night, we're having a cocktail and they're having a rugby championship match on TV. Everything I know about rugby, you could fit in a thimble, and there'd still be plenty of room for your thumb. So people in the bar like yelling and screaming and jumping up and down, and I'm going, what happened? And once they started explaining to me some of the moves and some of the plays and some of the things, it was much more enjoyable to watch. And I just felt like there were a lot of casual fans. You know, NHRA certainly has their hardcore fans, no question. But they also have a lot of casual fans that will just come out like when the circus is in town, so to speak, right? There are fans that are going to come to the race in Phoenix because they live local, but they might not be paying attention when the race is in Texas or when the race is in Brainerd, Minnesota, or when the race is wherever. And those fans don't have the in-depth knowledge that a lot of the hardcores do. So if somebody's sitting there watching the race and goes, okay, I don't get it, what happened? I was trying to give them somebody to ask, thinking that that would help them to enjoy the experience if they knew more about it. And I really missed that fan interaction. And some of it became very technical. A lot of it was, why did this thing blow up? Or why did you say that when this happened? And I could share some of that knowledge, some of the things that I've learned over the years. So I'm looking forward to bringing back that, whether it's technical questions or whether it's about a race or because I still pay very close attention to what's going on out there in the racing world, even though I'm not there on a day-to-day basis.
Alan, you haven't, been there on a day-to-day basis with the NHRA this year, but you have been in the sport for a very long time in a variety of roles. This silly season, concerning the NHRA itself, how silly has it in fact been, and what do you think's been the top moment?
Well, I mean, over the top is how silly it's been, right? You would have a much, much shorter list if you sat down and said, okay, let's mention everybody who didn't make some type of legitimate change in their team. When I was in Indy for the PRI show, I went in a couple of days early simply to go touch base with some guys, because there are a lot of people that I have developed relationships with that I count as friends that I used to see on a weekly basis because we were always at the same racetrack. And last year I wasn't there. So there were a lot of guys that I just hadn't been able to, catch up with, spend 10 or 15 minutes with. So I went in a day early and I said, you know what, I'm going to Brownsburg. I'm going to run up and down Southfield, Northfield Drive and South Point Circle. And I'm going to just bump into, guys, and I'm going to stop in at race shops and just say hi. And one of the things that was really funny was when I stopped by Tony Stewart's shop. Neil Strasbaugh and I have known each other for a number of years. I know most of their crew guys are on a first name basis with a lot. I probably have phone numbers for half of them. And so just being able to stop in and say hi. And the first thing Neil said is, he said, what's going on down there? He said, because we are apparently out of the blast zone when everything blew up down there. And he's pointing to a block away. But he said, we're completely out of the blast zone. Nothing really changed here. Everybody's here. We're just gearing up, getting ready, doing our normal stuff. But almost everybody up and down that road had some change. I think, obviously the biggest one was the split between the Proc family and JFR. It's a very rare occurrence that a championship team splits with the team owner. And, there's plenty of discussion out there about, well, what really happened, what's going on. And I'll let everybody just kind of make up their own minds. But I think that was probably the big moment. And then dominoes falling everywhere, right? It's like, okay, well, John needs another driver. And then Alexis making a move. And Ida's future is up in the air. I don't think they've made an official announcement yet. And guys, if they have, please correct me about exactly how many races, what she's going to do. I know that they were still looking for funding and doing things there. And then the whole crew chief carousel. I'm telling you, it's like a drunk, blindfolded guy was spun around 3 times and started throwing darts. And oh, look who's over here now. It's like, what's that guy doing there? But this has been absolutely the craziest silly season I remember. And I don't think it's done yet. I think there's, there are still some moves that are going to be made out there.
Yeah, I agree. It is wild. I want to ask you too about this now rich land of drag racing where there's NHRA, there's IHRA, then you have, all the chaos stuff. You have all these things now where people can go. But for the most part, we have another place for fuel drivers to go and master their craft. How great is that?
I think it's terrific for a number of reasons. One, the IHRA, and I hope this doesn't sound terrible because that's not how I mean it too. But the IHRA back in the day was almost looked at as kind of a junior league, right? It's a place where people could go, they could get experience, they could run their cars, they could be competitive. Clay Millican obviously dominated over there for so many years towards the end of their Nitro series, but it was a place where guys could go and get experience. They weren't in necessarily as big a spotlight as they were with the NHRA, and that's been gone for a long time. If a guy wanted to go learn racing top fuel, if a guy you show up at the NHRA race and, okay, maybe you qualify. Now that hasn't been such a big deal the last couple of years, but you know what I'm talking about. But then, okay, you make it to Sunday, you win first round. There's a lot of those guys that never had to turn a car before in 45 or 50 minutes, and that became a problem. And now there's a place where there's less pressure. And because of Daryl and the team that he's put over there, there's some legitimate money over there. So racers can go over there. They can gain some experience. They don't have the quick turnaround pressure. They don't have to have 10 or 12 professional guys on payroll in order to just show up and compete. And they're able to potentially make some money, bankroll their team, maybe hire that extra guy or maybe buy some nicer parts or maybe able to step up until they can step up and come over to the NHRA if that's what they desire. But I know also that I've talked to a couple of guys that have run over on the IHRA side, and they're going, hey, look, this is good for us. We come in on Friday, we race Friday, we race Saturday, we go home on Sunday, we're back to work on Monday. The expense is less. For people that have a job or for people that have a volunteer crew, the days off are considerably less. And I know I've spoken to a handful of racers and said, no, we're perfectly happy here. If somebody called me and said, hey, how would you like to come be a part of this? They go, no, I've kind of found my home. And I equate that a little bit to, there are a number of people that think everybody that's racing an alcohol car has dreams of someday racing top fuel. And that's simply not true. There are a number of racers that enjoy the alcohol classes, that like it being a little bit more laid back, a little bit more friendly, a little bit more. They're more than happy with going 280 miles an hour. They don't have to go 330 miles an hour. And they're not looking to make a move. And that's what I see over on the IHRA side of the fence right now. There are some teams that are coming over there and thinking, this is home. This isn't a stepping stone. This is where I'm going to be. And, with what they keep saying over there, that they're fully funded for 10 years, they've got a guaranteed plan moving forward. That could be a pretty good home for somebody.
It's good for drag racing to have so many homes to get nestled into. Well, Alan, we're excited that you're going to get nestled in here at competitionplus.com. We're looking forward to it. Give us again the word on when we'll see you live here on Competition Plus.
The first one is going to be February 4th. It'll be Wednesday, and I believe I'm in the same time slot that you guys are, but I don't know that that's been officially hammered out yet. And I keep waiting for. I'm trying to read the bottom of the screen to see if Bobby's got my email address. Ask the announcer. There it is. cptv@gmail.com. So there you go. You got a question? You got a comment? You got a something? Ask the announcer at CPTV, Competition Plus TV, at gmail.com. You got a question, you got a comment, shoot something to me, and we'll dip into the mailbag starting Wednesday, February 4th. And it could be a technical question. If you want to ask me about what I've been doing, if you want to ask me how come I'm not making any progress on the Barracuda, or if you saw something at the races and you have a procedural or rules question, shoot it to me. If I don't know the answer, I bet I know somebody that does, and I'll try to help you out.
Well, Alan, welcome to the house that Bobby built.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I've known Bobby for a long time, and he will tell you that over the years, there have been a few times when we vehemently disagreed about whatever. But I will also tell you that I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for the fact that he would always try to get both sides of the story. He never went off with, this is what I heard, so this is what he always tried to get both sides of the story. He always tried to do fair reporting. And whether I agreed with him or not, I had a lot of respect for him and still do. I hope he feels that way about me, but I'm glad to have an opportunity to do this. And I hope I can have as much fun, as much longevity as you guys have had, because you guys have been doing this a while. I might be leaning on you, the experienced guys on the team here, to help me from making stupid mistakes or, tripping over myself.
Well, it's going to be a good time for all involved, yourself, Competition Plus, and certainly I think the fans win as well. They are going to be tuning in and willing to hear again from Alan Reinhardt. Alan, we're going to let you go. Enjoy Tucson.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it very much. Look forward to the next time I see you in person, and I'll certainly be tuning in again next Tuesday.
Thank you. Take care, man.
Thank you.
Folks, Alan Reinhardt, excited that we're going to have him on the Competition Plus team with another live show, more live content right here on Competition Plus TV. That's the YouTube channel. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. CompetitionPlus.com, the website, and Competition Plus on Facebook. And be sure to follow elsewhere, Instagram, X, all the social media outlets to stay up on the news in the world of drag racing from the place that you can believe what you read on the internet. Yes, it's going to be the 5:30 time slot. And along with him, Nicole Clark. You all are familiar with her here on the Competition Plus Power Hour from time to time. And Dujne, in the notes that we've got, we also know the first guest.
Yes. First guest will be funny car superstar, Mr. Ron Capps.
Always a good time with Ron. No telling what Alan and Nikki might be able to get into with Ron in a format such as that. Hey, speaking of questions, it's time now for the ARP question of the week. ARP.
So the question: where and when was first and only successful NHRA professional class boycott? When and where was the first and only successful NHRA professional class boycott?
There is connection to a modern day news ticker from yesterday or 2 days ago, actually. I'll say that.
Yeah.
And remember, you're going to send that answer to Power Hour Show, CPTV at gmail.com. And whoever's first, well, you're going to be able to grab some swag from the Competition Plus store. And there are a lot of great prints for you to choose from. We've got some that you can see here in just a moment. The Warren Johnson piece. And I think there's a Tricky Ricky Smith piece with a Fox body mustache. Oh, yes, there it is. Oh, I love that one. I need to pick that one up for myself.
Me too.
Tricky Ricky there with that Pro Stocker. Beautiful machine. Lee Shepard, Rare and Morrison. That solid Camaro there.
Clean.
I wonder if that was in the Hendrick days. I bet it was still. Oh, I bet it was. Bet it was. Ah, yes. Del Poldy.
Mm-hmm. I love that car. I loved all the renditions of that car. And
every one of them. Spectacular. Awesome. Yes. You can get these again, folks, at competitionplusstore.com. So as we transition here again, the question, Dujne, is what?
Where and when was the first and only successful NHRA professional class boycott?
By the way, folks, there is no question that when you need fasteners, ARP is the leader in fasteners. If you got to fasten something down, it needs to be ARP. We'll continue here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Hit the like button, hit the share button, dive into the comment section. We're going to take a look at our cool video of the week, presented by quartermileclassifieds.com.
Here we go. Pez left side, Ferris right side. Pez is in. Ferris is in. Oh my goodness! Big crash! Oh my! Ladies and gentlemen, please stay back. Please stay back. Oh my! Oh my!
Al Tucci with the call.
Yeah.
Always exciting. You know, there is a clip of him, not this one, but there's a clip of him. He is announcing a race at Atlanta, Georgia. It's a match race. Like Casey Spurlock, John Force is there, and pro mods are going down. And a younger Al Tucci on the mic ripping it. It was cool to see. That's on YouTube as well. This was a spectacular moment that we're seeing presented by quartermileclassifieds.com. Flying cars.
Insane. I'm just trying to figure out how he managed to get the car in the air and it doesn't flip, doesn't turn sideways. He just kind of glides a little bit and then lands right back on his feet. Like, huh?
Well, you know, this footage comes to us by Mark Walter and Motormania TV.
Yeah.
And you see this situation between Daniel Ferris and Brandon Pez, names that we're all familiar with, especially in the door car scene. These incidents keep becoming more numerous, especially in the radial and small tire world.
Mm-hmm.
And Dujne, I've just got to say that if we can figure out in motorsports how to get a car down the straightaway well over 200 miles per hour on the Mulsanne straight, we should be able to figure out how to keep drag cars planted and this not be a scene within our version of motorsport.
Yeah. You know, here at South Georgia Motorsports Park, they're kind of coined as the land of the flying cars here, as it happens quite often here at South Georgia Motorsports Park. But you think with all this technology and all this growth within the sport of drag racing, that at some point we'd figure out how to make sure that these things don't go airborne and act like they're a Delta 747 taking off. You know, you think you'd figure that out, but I guess we're still working on that.
Absolutely. Apparently still working on it. Certainly glad everybody was safe that was involved here. Brandon Pez pulling, you know, a wheel stand of his own, and Daniel Ferris disqualified in the incident. Certainly glad everyone was okay, but it seems like every year we see this type of incident happen when it comes up to small tire and door car, radial world racing. We're even starting to see in the no prep world toward the end of the stripe.
Yeah.
At the end of the race, they are figuring out they need so much downforce on the rear that at full speed it's too much, and they need to get a little bit more front downforce for those cars, even on the no prep scene. So yeah, drag racers, I seriously think they've got to think about it.
Yeah, they seriously got to think about it. You know, that it can get real ugly when you're leaving the racing surface and above the walls. You know, it does no amount of pushing back the scoreboards or anything like that is going to save you when you're well above the walls that are supposed to protect you. And Lord forbid you get one of those cars and it goes over the wall and lands deep into, the out of bounds area. Then you start talking about cars getting into where fans are. So yeah, it's something that definitely have to start working on and seeing to that we keep these things a little bit more tethered to the ground, so to speak.
Yes. Well, if you go out there and your car flies, whatever's left that you can part out, you can part out on quartermileclassifieds.com. And not only can you part out and sell and find the pieces that you need to go fast and quick and possibly even fly at the drag strip, there are a lot of cool pieces on quartermileclassifieds.com. You can put up videos, photos, and more to sell to a potential buyer. Dujane, we got a cool piece for people to see as an example of what can be on quartermileclassifieds.com. Those cars, obviously the Superbirds, they go out there and they're in NASCAR for the time period that was the Aero Wars, but those cars look so cool, street rodded or pro modded, if you will. There are some out there that are on the pro mod ranks. We need some NHRA pro mod, because NHRA pro mod, like, let me tell you folks, when I hear pro Camaro, I don't think pro stock. I mean, I get it. I know what you're saying. I actually think pro mod. It's the same there too. We need some of those in NHRA pro mod. So cool piece and a great example of what you can see on quartermileclassifieds.com. And as Bobby put in the comment section, it's street legal too.
It's a street rod. It is a street rod. I know we'll get arguments over that, but
Look, we do live in a world. We do live in a world where streetcar has been stretched as far as it can be stretched.
Yep.
It is absolutely amazing, especially when you look into the drag and drive world, which a lot of great things are happening there once again, and its continued growth we will see in 2026. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to reach drag racers, go to quartermileclassifieds.com. Now, let's take the time. We're going to definitely look at what you have put in the comment section in our fan interaction time here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. So, Jacob, what we got in the comment section? What has looked good from the start to now? And let's just discuss it here, Dujane, on the Competition Plus Power Hour.
Yeah, it says I don't know much. I don't know how much you want to talk about this since it involves a friend. Or do you have any comments on AJ and not being paid by IHRA?
Well, there's a tweet out there from AJ, who's worked with John Force Racing in the past in the PR realm, and he's been in media as well and has done a lot in the world of motorsports concerning coverage or working with teams individually. And yes, he was at a time with the IHRA. I saw him at several races, and there seems to be the case of at least what he is claiming, that, hey, I was at these races, I did this work, and I'm not seeing what is owed to me. Now, I don't know everything that's going on. What I will say is I think this is an issue of what we have seen with the IHRA and continued leadership overhauls time and time and time. I think the number is President 4 with the current president of the IHRA that we've got. So the International Hot Rod Association is doing great things, but it does need some solidarity, I think, in overall leadership.
Yeah, I think it does too. They've got to find a happy medium, and this needs to be the final. Like, you can't have these changeovers, and with these changeovers, things get lost in the sauce, and then you have these things. My biggest problem is too, when you have these overhauls and you have these things that get lost in the sauce, it seems to me that IHRA just kind of like turns a blind eye to it and act like it didn't happen. And then you end up having these things that are, because they have to now, you know what I mean? In order to get something done, sometimes you got to expose people. And that has got to change. You know what I mean? Everything else going well. But as we know, in any type of sports, your front office is everything. And those in that front office really drive the force of what's going on out on the racetrack. Same thing, stick and ball sports, it all applies. So definitely got to get that ironed out. And hopefully this is the last rendition of front office people that we're going to see, because really they kind of need to get the ball now. We're moving forward. Now they need to get some momentum and start building on this thing.
Yes. The longer they've got leadership in place and it stays, the better. I mean, we can see that in other areas. I think any of us that watch stick and ball sports, let a head coach have some time to get a program going. Now, certainly there's a time and place where this guy's had his shot and had his time, even though there's been success. We kind of need to move on and try something else. But the IHRA desperately needs that, I think, even though they have done such a great job in so many ways. In the comment section, the Power Hour versus the Reinhart Show is already some NHRA versus IHRA stuff. Who will win the ratings war? I don't care. It's not a versus.
No.
Alan's going to be on. He's going to do his thing. People are going to chat. There's going to be views there. There's going to be views here. It's all good for competitionplus.com and all good for the sport of drag racing to have a place for more talking to be had. And then you continue on the lives that Competition Plus has, whether I go live and you got the Between the Slicks and then Sega Live. If Bobby still wants it, we'll put it on. We'll figure it out and have it here as well. It continue a long relationship the Southeast Gas Association has had with competitionplus.com. So the world that is, the realm that is competitionplus.com, giving you that much more, especially in live content.
Yeah, most definitely. Looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to not just Alan, but I think Nicole's going to provide, I think people underestimate, in my opinion, they underestimate Nicole and what she knows. And I don't think a lot of people know what she does for a living. And, she has a very great perspective on it. And if a lot of people would listen, I think that their brand would move ever more forward. But, we live in a world where, like, certain people can't take advice from other people because I don't know, maybe their ego gets in the way. But yeah, I think those two are going to really bring a pretty awesome perspective on things, and it'll be something new. You know what I mean? Something new and a different slant on what many people are doing, out there. So yeah, more content is better. So it's all good.
Absolutely. It is all good and need more of it in the world of drag racing. spoke with Joe Costello briefly at the PRI show, and he's like, drag racing's got a budding scene of shows like this, Alan Reinhardt show, what he's doing, WFO, the Not Bland show, Between the Slicks, Dragon Drive with Michael Narks and Eric White. So many others are out here doing it. I think of Spaghetti Clips, even 1320 video. They've started not necessarily live, but a podcast. They've had it now for a little while. More and more people are doing it, and more talking is good. And I know when I go to the track, whether it's Between the Slicks or this show, people know about the Competition Plus Power Hour, and people know of you, and people know of what's going on. People do tune in, and they do want to hear more about a sport they love. And there's plenty of room. I mean, how many stick and ball podcasts are there? And people listen to them. I think at the YouTube channels that are out there about college football and NFL, we need more. We need more Mighty Max, and we need more out there getting this type of content. And we need more, not just on the NHRA, but the IHRA and the scene out there that's back of the track and no prep and PDRA and Funny Car Chaos and throughout the world of drag racing. More content's just good.
Yeah, you never can have too much, especially when you look at the flood of what we have in the NFL, NCAA, NBA, MLB. So this area here in drag racing is really, there's a lot for growth, and there's really not a lot of people doing it. There's also not a lot of people doing it well. So that there is more room for growth and for room to talk about drag racing.
So the BW Show 26, Dujanay, I'll let you take it first. Most excited for in 2026, NHRA and IHRA.
I'm excited to see in the NHRA how the shakeup and how this all starts to pan out. Great presser today with Austin Prock, and like I said, he's got a chip on his shoulder. Not sure, there's their side, there's JFR side, and there's the truth in the middle. And I don't think it wasn't a happy ending, that's for sure. So they've got a little bit to prove, and that's what champions do, though. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to that. IHRA side, I'm looking forward to all of it. We mentioned Lex June a lot. He's got a new car coming out. I mentioned him because I'm a huge fan of Gerda. So if I was to be starting a team, that would be my crew chief. But I'm looking forward to seeing teams like that progress throughout the year and see their growth throughout this season. And then who's going to be able to nag that championship. It's going to be a lot of good cars out there in every class. I love this Triple Crown that they brought forth. So those are some of the things that I'm looking forward to on both sides of the ball there.
NHRA for me, it's not really any personalities, even though we've had a tremendous silly season, the silliest of all silly seasons to date in the 75 years of NHRA drag racing. I think it has to be. It is rather the schedule. I am so excited that the NHRA is going to some markets and tracks that they just have not been to. I think it is in so many ways a breath of fresh air, whether it is forced upon them or certainly planned as some of them were. That is just good for the sport and good for these tracks. These tracks are upgrading. These tracks are stepping up. And I think for the NHRA to go to these new tracks, for them, it is a win for fans in drag racing, and especially the National Hot Rod Association fans. And the 2026 schedule, in my opinion, is the best schedule of the modern era of NHRA drag racing that we have got to date. I'm so looking forward to seeing the storylines on the new tracks and additions to the NHRA Mission Foods schedule that we've got for this season. The International Hot Rod Association, they have a ton planned, and I'm certainly got my eye on their progress of the facilities, such as what was Memphis International Raceway, Memphis Motorsports Park, Heartland Motorsports Park. My eye, though, even though we are going to have International Hot Rod Association champions crowned, it is who shows up to race one of the Triple Crown at Maple Grove and says, I'm going to fire up my hot rod in an attempt to go for $1 million. Who shows up race one? And race one is so important, Dugenais, in this, because if you show up and you win, then you need to show up to race two. Who is going to give it a shot that we haven't seen giving IHRA a shot back in 2025? So when it comes to NHRA, IHRA, those are the top things for me. I will go ahead and throw out that, though, I think of the Southeast Gassers Association. We're going to Rockingham too for the first time in well over a decade, but the first time ever as a points paying meet. So I'm looking forward to that. And then Chris Graves, Funny Car Chaos, Nitro Chaos, Fuel Altered Chaos. What chaos is next for Chris Graves and a great promoter in the sport of drag racing? Also, this season, we talked about it earlier in the show. Can Jason Harris do it? Can Party Time party on down to a cool million? We'll see that this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. A lot of fun.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to leave you with this parting shot presented by Red Line Oil. When you go into the Red Line, you need Red Line Oil. So you've got here this great shot of Larry Bowers in a top fuel dragster, and it has malfunctioned significantly.
Yeah, bad. Kicking the clutch out of that thing. you can see the clutch disc in the air. That's insane.
Wow. I mean, it has just completely malfunctioned in this blow up and behind the motor plate for sure. It is a wild scene here. Beautiful hot rod too.
Yeah.
Like infusion of front engine dragster and yet rear engine dragster and streamliner. The beautiful hot rod. We've gotten the captions that it was a purple machine. I'm sure the color edition of this would be spectacular, but parts are flying everywhere here in this 1972 shot. So this is happening at Bakersfield.
Yeah. No, that was weeks later in Bakersfield. He kicked the whole engine out at the finish line. Like, what were you doing? Did you just forget to put the mounts on? Like, what happened?
Some rough stuff going on in the world of drag racing at one time. Well, not just one time, but it still happens today. But it does seem to be that when it happened back then, because of the nature of parts, pieces, and just safety, it was spectacular for sure. And we definitely do blow up a whole lot more in this day and time in a spectacular fashion. But that capture right there, wow. I mean, you've got it caught in the air, all these pieces of the clutch and bell housing and just NHRA 7110, you win the show. You win the show. That comment wins the show.
Yeah, that's good.
It wins.
Good stuff, brother.
Yes.
Good stuff.
I'm sure that he was disqualified. No. Yeah. Where were his bolts after that? For sure. Oh, that's another thing. What in NHRA tech will we have this year?
I'm gonna try to be nice, so I ain't gonna even say anything. I'm gonna be nice to start out the year, but I'm gonna step on your neck later.
Right. So we've had malfunctions then. No telling what malfunctions we'll have this year, but we certainly got a great season in 2026 ahead of us. So a great parting shot presented by Redline Oil. Word from them. And folks, we're going to call it here on the Power Hour. Tune back in on next Tuesday.
See y'all in 30.
Reliability to drive thousands of miles. Confidence for those who fly high. Redline Oil products give you the power to crush the competition. And a track record of being the best. Redline Oil products. You push it to the limit. We'll protect it.
QuarterMileClassifieds.com is a new and easier alternative to online classified advertising. We make it a simple experience with $20 getting your car, hauler, engine, or parts listed for 2 weeks. If you want to make a bigger splash, we have VIP listings that provide even more exposure, including social media. On QuarterMileClassifieds.com, you get up to 10 photos of video and up to 2,000 characters to deliver the message you need to make the sale. QuarterMileClassifieds.com is a trusted classified ad partner of Competition Plus and the Rooftech Top Eliminator Bonus Fund. Visit QuarterMileClassifieds.com today.